I had received a comment from you asking me how it is that I rehabbed my shoulder in the prison system, and the timing of this couldn't be better because I'm dealing with a shoulder injury right now that I had taken from doing the one-arm pull-ups. So, perfect timing. Now, that injury is a little bit different, and I am using the technology that I have access to at the moment. I will still be going into here exactly what it was that was the method that we had to use back then, which was paper. What? Paper? Yeah. The way we had to do it was we had to go and find somebody in the dormitory that had already gone through a shoulder injury, possibly had a shoulder surgery, and then get the paperwork that they had from them in order to figure out and put together your plan of how you're going to actually rehab something. That was the way you had to do it. It was prison. You got to do what you got to do. Now, why would we not just go to medical ourselves? Well, medical was sometimes an absolute disaster, roll the dice. Unless you were having a major medical issue, you didn't really want to go. And then sometimes if you did go to medical and they decided they were going to send you out somewhere, you end up losing the cell you're in, the dorm you're in, you get shipped out. Unless you are seriously messed up or having some kind of major medical issue, best to avoid medical. Now, later on, I did come down with medical conditions, almost died a couple of times. That was necessity. So then I was virtually almost living in medical because I was a medical disaster. But that's a different story. Also, you want to read a lot of magazines to grab as much information as you possibly can, because the more you know, the more you know. And the more you know, the more you might possibly be able to help yourself in some way, shape, and or form. So magazines and the information in them when it came to like rehabbing, strength training, all that was definitely a major tool that we took use of. Unlike the prison shoulder injury, this injury, I'm virtually positive, is a shoulder impingement. So it is different. In prison, it was a rotator cuff injury that I had taken while I was doing one-arm push-ups. And I still remember it was the first set and it was the second rep on, I think it might have been my right arm. I can't remember for sure which arm it was, but it was the second rep. Felt a shot of pain, grinded through the set. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. Now, you guys may find this a little bit crazy, but in prison, we didn't have access to like the resistant bands and a lot of that kind of stuff. So we had to kind of like create what we were doing and make it up as we went. And these bad boys right here, this was the key. Pop bottles full of sand. It actually turns out where these guys are roughly about like 2.5, 3 pounds, which is exactly what you want. Because if you go with too much weight, then you're working the muscle more. And if you go with too little weight, you're not stimulating anything to actually rehab your shoulders. So there's like a sweet spot when it comes to trying to rehab a rotator cuff. Perfect. About 2.5, 3 pounds. Perfect. Side note, all the camps always had pop bottles too. So I'm not going to waste any time on this one. We're going to get straight into it. Let's go. All right. For these, you're wanting to do about 2 sets, maybe 3, around 10 to 20 reps, depending on how it's feeling. Always depending on how all this stuff is always feeling. What it is that you're doing is a rotational movement where you're bent over and you're bringing your arm up and then back down. Up and then back down. So it's possibly 10, 20, whatever that. Then you will switch it and go back with it. So you're raising your shoulder back. What would you be doing if you had a band? You would be doing those with the band. So this was the chain gang method to sit there and be able to get the workaround with that. Same thing almost as doing like your face pulls and then doing like the downward pulls. But we're just making it happen what we got to make it happen with. Now for this, it's the same 10 to 20 reps, all depending on how it's feeling. But you're going to be taking the 2 bottles held in your hands down by your sides, and you're going to be lifting them straight up, and you're going to do 10 to 20 like this. Then you're going to go and switch to a 45-degree angle for 10 to 20. Then after that, you would switch to straight out and straight up for 10 to 20. Now for this one, it is standing internal and external rotations. You may want to go a little bit heavier with it, kind of depends, but if this is what you got, this is what you want to do. So for this, you're going to stand and you're just going to pull them out to the sides and pause, and then come back to the front. Sides and pause, back to the front. Again, this was another one that normally you would have a band stretched out and you'd be holding on with it anchored somewhere, pulling it across your body like that, or coming and pulling it across your body like this. But for this, these guys are it. Now, this is one of the more gold standard exercises, and what we would do is, it's really two different exercises in combination, but it would be internal and external rotations, and we would do it by getting on the edge of the bunk and then dropping the arm like this, and then you rotate it up and down. And again, about 2 to 3 sets of about 10 to 20 reps each arm. So really, everything is 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 20 reps each arm. You do that on that arm. Then for the other, which would be the internal rotation, we get to the edge of the bunk, hang the arm down like this, and then rotate it up and in. Next, we have, and it works great with these guys because they are pop bottles. So it is standing, pour the bottle, pour the bottle. All right, now for this exercise, we would not use any kind of weight for it. Great exercise though. So this is going to be done laying flat on your stomach, and you start out with first your arms straight down by your sides. You lift your chest up a little, and you raise your arms with your palms up, going up and back for 10 to 20 reps. Then you switch to your arms straight out to the sides with your thumbs up, and you go and bring them up and squeeze your shoulder blades together at the top. So you're working your scapula and shoulders. Then you go to a 45-degree angle with it, and you do the same for 10 to 20 reps. Then after that, you would come to the straight forward, and you would raise again for 10 to 20 reps. Now, what I would usually do is I would do one like that. I would then do another one where I would have my arms facing down, and I'd bring them back like this, and then I'd have my arms out like this to the side, the 45s with my arms like this with my hands flat down, palms down, and then straight like that. And then I'd go back to the third one, would be that same palms up, thumbs up, thumbs up, and thumbs up. So for a quick reframe, you don't need all the fancy gear, the fancy therapy equipment, the bands and all that stuff. As long as you've got 2 pop bottles filled with sand, roughly 2 to 3 pounds, you can go through a lot of the physical therapy exercises that you would get if you just went and saw a physical therapist. Now, I'm not saying do not do that. I'm saying, though, that if it's not a serious injury and it's just feeling a little tweaked or a little bit off, do some self-meds here. If it is feeling a little bit off, then by all means, this is in prison, a lot easier to just go to a doctor, go to a physical therapist, be seen, get right. I'm just giving you more options, and I'm telling you how we did it in the prison system, and I will say that it 100% worked on my shoulder. I mean, I've had years and years and years of no problems, and I've never had a shoulder problem besides that one from those single arm push-ups, and then now this one from overdoing it with the one arm pull-up. Pretty good run. Almost 50 years old here. So, all right, my friends. Peace, love, joy, prosperity, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one.